MZTV.
It's Friday, right? Is it Friday? It better be Friday, or I wouldn't be wearing this getup here today. It is Friday. Okay, good. So we're going to have a little fun here at the end of the week, but we're going to get into a very serious topic, a translation error that is so serious, so profoundly wrong, that it has caused people to deny the death of Christ. Greetings, everyone. This is Martin Zender from the edge of the bottom of the Floridan Peninsula, again, to distinguish it from all other peninsulas. Now, I'm wearing my hat backwards, and I'm wearing a funky shirt. But look at this shirt. I don't even know where I got this. I forget. But, yeah, this is like the hippie era, like 1969 on steroids. I'm wearing a hat that Manfred Jones gave me. And what does my hat say? I'm wearing it backwards, but let me turn it around. Show you this. Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'm proud of my hometown here. So I'm rocking the Fort Lauderdale hat. But for today, I feel like wearing it like this. Put my headphones back on. My hair is out of control. But I am not out of control. I'm going to herald the word to you. I'm going to straighten out a really bad translation. And I'm going to make sense. I can't seem to help it. It just happens every day. I don't know how it happens, but it does. It's the grace of God. John 11:26. I'm going to read this verse from several versions, common versions, and then I'm going to read it from the concordant version. But as I looked at the various translations of this verse, I found that there's one version that actually gets it right. Now that I'm looking at myself, I think I'm going to wear this hat the other way. I don't like this. Hang on a second. All right, I'm going to go with this. I like the Fort Lauderdale. I like the American flag. All right, yeah, that's much better. So here we go. John 11:26. Let me set the stage for you. Lazarus has died, the brother of Mary and Martha. Jesus waited 4 days until he was stinking in the tomb in order to make a point. The point is that he was the resurrection and the life. And he was going to prove it by raising this guy, this man, from the dead. And this man was his friend. Lazarus was his friend, and he was the brother of Mary and Martha. So let's go to John 11:26. From the NIV, oh my God, the new inconsistent version. Here it is. Whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Let me first set the context. I'm going to read the context in the concordant version, but I'm not going to read the concordant version translation of John 11:26. Not at first. So Mary, as she hears that Jesus is coming, meets him. Her brother has died. Jesus was told about it when he was with his disciples. He delayed so that Lazarus would die, so that he could raise him from the dead. Martha then, as she hears that Jesus is coming, meets him. Yet Mary was seated in the house. Martha then said to Jesus, Lord, if you were here, my brother would not have died. But even now, I am aware that whatsoever you should be requesting of God, God will be giving it to you. Jesus is saying to her, your brother will be rising. That's John 11:23. Martha is saying to him, I am aware that he will be rising in the resurrection in the last day. So she had no idea that Jesus was about to raise her brother from the dead that day, like 5 minutes from then. She thought Jesus was speaking vaguely like, yeah, he's going to raise from the dead. She said, I know, there's eventually going to be a resurrection from among the dead. But Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. He who is believing in me, even if he should be dying, shall be living. So, Lazarus, case in point, Even if he should be dying, he shall be living. And the way Martha interpreted that was, someday. Someday. But then Jesus said, and everyone who is living and believing in me, and that's where the tricky translation comes in. Well, it's not tricky, except that the standard versions screw it up. Whoever lives by believing in me will never die. New International Version, John 11:26. The New Living Translation, whatever that is. Everyone who lives in me and believes in me will never, ever die. What would you think if you're reading this? That if you believe in Jesus Christ, you're never going to die. If you believe in Jesus Christ, death is not real for you. Your family may be having the funeral there, but you're not really dead. You go on to be with God. Immortality of the soul. This verse sells the immortality of the soul. It's a mistranslation. I'm going to show you what a diabolical mistranslation it is and how much havoc it has wreaked. Because once you doubt death, then you doubt the death of Christ. And once you doubt the death of Christ, then there goes Paul's gospel, the foundation of which is the death and the resurrection of Christ. Let's go on to some of these terrible translations. English Standard Version. Everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Berean Study Bible. Everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Berean Literal Bible. Everyone living and believing in me. Ooh, listen to this. The Berean Literal Bible. God bless these people, whoever they are. Everyone living and believing in me shall never die to the age. Hang on to that. King James, please. Whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never dieth. The New King James Version. Oh, I bet this will be an improvement. The New King James Version. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. How is that new? Wait a minute. King James Bible. Whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. The New King James Version. Whosoever lives and believes in me shall never dieth. Same thing. How is that new? What a disappointment. New American Standard Bible. That was the first Bible I ever bought back in the day. Everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. NASB 1995. Everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. NASB 1977. Everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Amplified Bible. Everyone who lives and believes in me as Savior will never die. On it goes. Oh, here's the Aramaic Bible in plain English. Everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Okay, that's enough of it. You can see where people get the idea that believing in Jesus means that as soon as you die, you really don't die because Jesus said you will never die. But that is not what Jesus said. I am happy to announce to you. You know what? I'm going to put this hat back. Now I'm not liking this. I want to put it back to where it was. For some reason, this suits me better now. Because I'm about to give you the Concordant Literal New Testament, a translation based on the literal Greek. And for some reason, that new Berean Bible, was it? For some reason, they tapped into the truth. All right. Concordant Literal New Testament. John chapter 11, verse 26. And everyone who is living and believing in me should by no means be dying for the eon. Ladies and gentlemen, the word aion is in this passage in every Greek manuscript. There's no denial of that. Every Greek manuscript, whether it's Codex Vaticanus, Codex Alexandrinus, Codex Sinaiticus, they all have the word aion in the text. It's there in every Greek manuscript. But all the versions I just read you, the versions that are available now at your local Christian Bible bookstore, None of these translations translate the word ion. It goes untranslated. And instead of ion, which means age or eon, they throw in the word never. Why? I don't know. They were smoking something. They were under pressure from the hierarchy. We know, in the case of the King James Version, that King James demanded that the translators not depart from the doctrines of the Church of England. So they were under compulsion. They could not follow their instincts. They couldn't follow the text. They couldn't follow standard scientific, logical practices of translation, where you have to translate a word. When the word ion's there, you have to put it in. You have to give it representation in the English. They did not translate it at all. Why? Because there was a concerted effort among the ecclesiastical powers that be to endorse, to encourage, to promote the immortality of the soul. They didn't believe in death. They don't want people to die because death is the ultimate humiliation to the human race. And if you die, then you have to count on someone to resurrect you. And we can't have that. I'm going to read this again, and then I'm going to explain it to you. Whoever believes in me should by no means be dying for the eon. The eon he was talking about, for the eon, was the kingdom eon. The ensuing eon, that is the 1,000 years of peace. So whoever believed in Jesus, in his message, in the kingdom message that he announced, would not be dead during that eon. In other words, they would be raised from the dead to enjoy the fruit and the pleasures, the soul pleasures of the millennium. You see how much sense it makes? And you see how illicit and dishonest it is to put will never die? It's criminal. How can they not translate a word? I mean, if you look in the concordant version, every word, every English word in the concordant version that has a corresponding word in the Greek is in dark-faced type. Sometimes the concordant version or any version will add words for the sake of English idiom. But when they do that, they're honest about it. They'll put those added words that are necessary to make a coherent English sentence. They'll put them in light-faced type. But here, for the eon, every one of those words is in dark-faced type. The King James, the New King James, the NIV, the NASB, and all those other versions, they ignore for the eon and they turn for the eon into never. How can you do that and sleep at night? Because you don't care. This is another example of Satan wanting to push the immortality of the soul. But why would Satan push something good? Immortality of the soul sounds wonderful. No, it's not good. Because if you as a person are immortal, then you don't need resurrection. You have life in yourself, but you don't. Death is the scariest thing you could think about. It's the biggest humiliation to the human race, death. Satan doesn't want you to think that people die. That was his first lie in the Garden of Eden. Did God say, to die you shall be dying? Satan made our foremother, Eve, doubt what God had said, which was, on the day you eat of that fruit, to die you shall be dying. He didn't say, you shall surely die. Another mistranslation. Do you get the feeling that these common versions are totally misleading you by their mistranslations? That's true. So Jesus said, whoever believes in him should by no means be dying for the eon. It would not eliminate the fact that people would die in the interim. For the eon speaks of the coming eon. It speaks of a resurrection of the dead to enjoy again the fruit and the pleasures of the coming eon. And Lazarus is a prime example. He believed in Jesus. He had Jesus over at his house with his sisters. They were friends. They played cards together. They ate together, and he was dead. How can righteous people die? They die all the time. The Apostle Paul got his head cut off. Peter, according to tradition, was crucified upside down. Ugh. Ugh. James was killed by the sword. Stephen was stoned. All these people died. According to Christian tradition, they didn't really die. According to Christian tradition, Jesus never even really died. This is all a lie. Because without death, you cannot have resurrection. Satan wants to undo the resurrection, because the resurrection demands the power of God to bring life into an inert, dead body. Satan doesn't like that. Satan doesn't want the power of God, doesn't want the power of Christ, wants to get rid of the resurrection. All you have to do to get rid of the resurrection is to deny death. And that's an easy lie to sell, because death is not popular. Nobody wants to die. It's an easy sell. And every religion will try to sell you, and successfully, denial of death. And the translators are more than happy to accommodate it, because like I told you yesterday, the translators here, and the Christian religion at large, is in cahoots with Satan. Or should I say, Satan has co-opted all religions, especially Christianity, because it's the most deceptive. It uses the name of Christ. But he has co-opted all these religions to deny death. To deny death. And thus, by extension, to deny the resurrection. This is why I always encourage you to get the right translation. And here it is. They won't die for the eon. Oh, I get it. They're not going to be dead for the coming eon. There is a resurrection. The resurrection is essential. The resurrection is necessary. It's not the icing on the cake. It's the entire freaking cake. And so, please, get a version. If you're going to talk about God, if you're going to think about God, if you're going to argue with other people about God, you might as well understand what God said. And the only way you can understand what God said is to get a translation that's faithful to the original languages. And when it sees a word in the Greek text, it translates it. It doesn't ignore it. It doesn't add a bunch of English words to substitute for it. Let God be true, though every translation a liar.